There it is. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to Squared Circle Shenanigans. It's your host, Brother Paul. Of course, I have with me my good co host, Reese. Welcome, Reese. How are you?
Doing well. How about you, brother Paul?
Pretty good, pretty good. Excited for today's show because, of course, today we have with us the one, the only Mr. Ricky Pickrell. Am I saying that right?
Yeah, that's right. Pickrell, yeah.
Okay, perfect, perfect. I don't know how many of you have seen this man and know who he is, but he works with ICP very closely with their wrestling promotion. He's around on other promotions, of course. He's wrestled some of the best indies and some of the best on TV. With that being said, let's get into it a little bit with our guests. So, Ricky, please tell me a little bit about you and how you got into the industry.
All right. Well, where I live in Jackson, Michigan, and they used to do a lot of like shows around here. Probably like early 2000, they do a lot of shows around the area, and then so like me and my friends would go. And then we found out that there was a wrestling school in Coldwater, so we went to Dan Severin's wrestling school in probably like maybe late summer, early fall of 2002, somewhere in there. And so I started training at Dan Severin's at Michigan Sports Camp.
Okay.
But I was training at Thomas Auto Body in Williamston, and people are probably like, "What is that?" But it was like the Sheik's son. He had a insurance, like he was a mechanic, and he would do like insurance work on cars, and he had a ring in there. But he was the son of the original Sheik, so it was like Tom and Eddie, and then like through them I got to meet Sabu, and I learned a lot from him too. Like we went to shows all over the place, but yeah, that's how I got my start. I was going to two different wrestling schools at the beginning, so it was cool. Dan Severance was pretty tough. A lot of these guys nowadays are lucky. I had to pass like 5 matches on the ground before I could even get in the ring. You know what I mean?
Right.
But yeah, it was cool, man. I was pretty blessed. There was a lot of good wrestlers there at the time that helped me out.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So, while training with Dan Severn, what are some moments that, because you said it was obviously a really tough school, what are some moments that like will always stick with you?
Probably just like passing that last match on that mat. So I'm like, oh, I can finally just get in the ring or whatever, right? But we would do like he would do MMA, so we would go and set the cage up for a lot of the fights that he would put on, like the real fights in Coldwater or Angola. Some of the dudes I would like pay off by like setting up the cage and helping tear it down or load it into the semi. I remember we went to Hot Now, which probably doesn't exist anymore, but he was like, "Let me get 20 cheeseburgers," and then he turned to me and was like, "What do you want?" I was like,
Wow.
"One of those one, one of those burgers would be just fine."
Wow, wow, wow.
Uh,
Interesting, interesting.
a lot of the like when I first was going there, Rashad Evans would be there,
Okay.
who made it in the UFC because at the time he was like wrestling for Michigan State, and then there was the alpha male Monty Brown was one of Dan's main students there. Jack Thriller was one of the like the head trainers, but Monty Brown was there a lot, and he was just starting to get on those Wednesday night pay-per-views or whatever, like the
Right.
Impacts or TNA or whatever it was, the weekly stuff, like when they first started. So he'd smash us, on Monday or Wednesday or whatever, and then smash some jobber guys on TV, which I thought was kind of cool. But
Awesome. And what while coming up in the industry, what is the piece of advice someone gave you that will always stick with you with pro wrestling?
I don't know, man. Just you got to really chase it. Like I used to go to these places that would run weekly, and there'd be nobody there. So I still would go anyway or whatever. Like repetition is key. Like keep going. Like pick out a vet or somebody and like travel with them guys. There was a lot of times I'd ride with Sabu and he was like, show don't mean shit or whatever. Just like the riding in the car is what it's about, the experience in the car and like listening to stories. Probably, keep your mouth shut and your ears open and listen or, watch, learn from your vet maybe.
Interesting. Okay.
A lot of times that he would be like, it's all about the traveling around in the car ride.
All right. Interesting. So we once again, we didn't get to say too much about everything, but you've worked or been in a building with Congo Kong, Shane Douglas, Karma, aka Awesome Kong, and a few other, in on TV
I've been pretty
personas.
blessed. I've been pretty lucky to wrestle some cool people.
100%. I know JCW had Eugene, I believe it was last year, and some other people. What's it like in the atmosphere with people that have been on TV compared to like indie wrestlers? And what's one of the biggest pieces of advice that you've gotten from one of those people?
I don't know. I look at it like, well, like getting trained by Dan Severn and Sabu. Like you wrestle with them, you can wrestle anybody in the world.
Right.
But like I'm kind of weirdo. Everybody puts their pants on one leg at a time. So I wasn't like. I probably regret not taking pictures and being a mark and stuff.
Right.
I apologize. But sorry about that.
No, you're fine.
What was I saying? What was it?
We were talking about the advice that that some of them would have possibly given you. You were talking about taking pictures.
Oh yeah. Well, I wish I would have listened more and probably did go to the gym a bunch.
Right.
Please. Sorry. Anyways, I should have went to the gym probably. Yeah. Asshole. Sorry.
Completely understandable.
Anyway, yeah. I was really fortunate. I got to wrestle a lot of people I watched on television as a kid, though.
Right.
Steve Rao, when I first started, used to run a lot of wrestling shows in the like Shiawassee County area, and he actually ran like a Legends of Wrestling promotion. And I was lucky enough; I got to work with like Jimmy Superfly Snuka, which was really cool.
Okay.
It's probably one of my favorite memories from doing the wrestling.
Wow.
Wow,
that's super cool.
Yeah, Phil Monahan would run a lot of shows, and a lot of legend shows.
Gotcha.
I was another guy like Steve Rivera. Are you familiar with Steve Rivera?
Yep.
Yes.
Pro Wrestling All Stars.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
He hooked me up a bunch with a bunch of cool matches,
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I got to work with Greg the Hammer Valentine and Shark Boy, Shane Douglas, Necro Butcher.
Okay.
Rivera put me in the ring with a lot of cool matches. I appreciate him throwing me in there. It's cool.
Yeah. And going back to the first time you wrestled on a show, the first time you stepped into the ring, how would you describe that feeling?
Oh, man. What's crazy is the very first match I ever had was on ABC 53 on Saturday, like right after college football at 7.
Really?
Yeah, but because I was started wrestling for the Far Hats, and they had local television, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they're on ABC 53, and we would wrestle at this studio in Lansing at the actual ABC 53 studio. It was sweet. It reminded me of like NWA studio wrestling from back in the day, maybe,
Yeah.
It was cool. So we went there and filmed at least a month worth of TV. Like my first match ever was on ABC 53 or whatever. It's crazy, but yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Absolutely.
I don't think that building is there anymore. It might be.
Mhm.
Eddie and Tom hooked me up. If it wasn't for those guys, I don't know if I'd probably be wrestling today. I don't know.
Yeah.
They're both passed away since then. They're both gone.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
Well, that sucks.
Oh, it's a
Um.
life though. It's all good.
Oh yeah, 100%. But that's still it hits the heartstrings for people, especially it depends on how close they are to you, especially with the wrestling and things like that. Just
Yeah.
depends. You never know.
One of my buddies was in my first match ever. We wrestled these two kids from Lansing, and we did like a tag team match. And I remember, like at the time, like Sabu was trying to get out of there and fly to Philadelphia, and they were. And afterwards, he was like, "What do you guys go so long for?" But it is what it is.
Yep, absolutely.
And, what are some things you must always be aware of while in the ring, whether it be a referee, a wrestler?
What was that?
Just real quick, first we got a comment from Frank. He says, Ricky is truly the Steve Lombardi of the Indies.
There you
Really
go. That's
talented
it.
guy who could work with anyone. Soon we gather.
I will definitely be gathering with Uncle Frank, kickboxer.
Yes.
A lot of times I pick Frank's brain. Sometimes he's the man.
Yeah.
Kickboxer. Yeah, I look forward to seeing you soon, Frank. Probably tomorrow, maybe around this time. The Steve Lombardi thing. I love that.
So the question I asked was, what are some things you must always be aware of while in the ring, whether it be a referee or a pro wrestler?
I'd probably say like your safety or your opponent's safety. You know,
Okay.
I
Interesting.
I always try to like keep an eye on if somebody's trying to like jump in the ring and attack us or something.
Yeah.
Maybe throw something at me. I've wrestled in front of some rowdy people in the day.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, yeah, especially working with JCW. I heard they throw a lot of stuff a lot of the time.
A lot of different
The
wrestling probably.
crazy, the
If
crazy
you can
juggle.
get
I heard the juggalos get a little too wild and crazy when it comes to wrestling.
I think it's all out of good fun. I've had drinks and stuff thrown at me, but nothing too bad.
Okay, a lot of Fago. I heard a lot of Fago everywhere. Sorry, my question. Right. What's one of the biggest piece of advice that you could give to an up and comer about the industry?
I think I might have answered that already. I said to like
Oh yeah, you're right. I'm sorry.
chase it as much as you can because it's not going to come to you.
Right.
Go set up the ring and tear the ring down, show your face, network as much as possible. Always bring your stuff. There was a lot of times where I got a match or whatever, I wasn't booked, but
Right.
and then I also said to like maybe find a vet and pick his brain or a couple of them, and maybe try to travel around and
Right. And I did realize.
pay your dues.
Once you said that, I did realize I did check it off. I did remember him asking you now that I said that. I was
Oh,
gonna go
good.
do the one underneath it, but I read that one because I seen the check mark. Sorry, the one underneath that though, which was the question, was crap. Where to go? Oh, here it is. What's one match that you would like to be involved in? Like if you could create your own match, which is you against somebody in any type of match, what would you create?
I would like to tag team with Mosh Pit Mike as the Fago Monster tag team. I think that'd be
Okay.
sweet. I think it'd be over.
All right.
That's something that we've wanted to do. We've always talked about doing.
That's awesome.
So it'd be a tag team gimmick.
Okay.
Where we,
Interesting. I like
I
that.
have done a lot. I've done a lot of different
That
ones.
tabletop. How's it going, guys?
That would be a match.
Absolutely. That's a wild matchup. Wow.
Yeah.
We're
Interesting. All right.
Now, this is a new question that I wrote down. So, what do you think, besides your own, has the best entrance music?
Oh, okay.
I really don't use entrance music.
Okay.
No? Oh, okay.
Well, because a lot of times I wrestle as FIA, which
Okay.
Rivera created, which
Okay.
I'm dressed like IRS, but since I'm welfare, it's FIA, which is the real letter. But
That's fair. Yeah.
IRS never really had entrance music, so I don't use music. Once
Okay.
in a while, I come out with Briar Wellington to his music,
Right.
which we team often, and he comes out to the Marilyn Manson song.
Okay.
I also team with Rod Street with the police department siren and the police scanner part. Where like I enjoyed that. That's all right.
Okay. Interesting. Interesting. Oh boy.
Whose entrance do I like the most? Like locally, or
It can be whoever you choose. Yes.
I do like the movement now where like all the fans are singing and stuff.
Mhm.
They kind of get into that entrance now. I would say like back in the day, my favorite entrance was probably Gold Dust.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
You
Cool.
know what I mean? If that's what
Okay.
you're going for. Yeah,
Interesting.
I always liked his entrance. I thought it was sweet. Maybe
Yeah.
Glacier.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Did
100%.
Glacier have a sweet entrance, or
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
you know?
Interesting. Interesting. So I asked this question quite a bit. I'm gonna ask you who would you have on your Mount Rushmore of wrestling? And the way we do it is we pick one main star, one mid card star, a tag team, and a female, and they can be on TV, past, present, or indie.
Man, that's tough because it's so categorized.
Oh yeah, I know. But if you don't want to do it that way, you can just pick whoever. I'm just saying that's
Like
how we
so,
usually.
like I grew up like the littlest kid. I was a Hulkamaniac, so I figured like you gotta pick
Okay.
Hulk Hogan, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And then it's like who's the best tag team,
Yep.
or who was my favorite tag team?
Yeah. Who would you say was
Ah
your favorite
man,
tag team and would be on your Mount Rushmore?
of the tag team wrestlers,
Yep.
I'm gonna go with. I always liked the Steiner brothers. I think they were probably my
Okay.
favorite tag team.
All right. That's a good pick. I like that. I like that. So you got a woman and a mid card now.
Man,
And
Carter.
and this mid carder could have been a world champion at one point too. Is just you preferred him or you liked him more as a mid card champion than something else. Because I've had people pick Seth Rollins as mid card, and I was like,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
that's
yeah,
fair. He's done mid card and world champion. That's fair.
yeah, yeah. Uh, man, there's so many good ones. There's so many good
Absolutely.
ones. I always really liked Chris Benoit. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like
Yeah.
that sounds
He was
horrible,
he was a hell of a U.S. champion.
but you know what I
100%.
mean? Like Benoit was good. He might have been one of my favorites from like the WCW, like Jericho, Benoit, Dean Malenko, and Mysterio. Those guys.
Right.
I liked a lot of that wrestling when I was younger. I don't
Yeah.
really watch a lot of wrestling now. You know what I
Okay.
mean?
Right.
But
He's like, I'm more of doing it than watching it. That's fair. I
it's
like
tough.
that.
I just don't have time to sit there and watch 3 hours or whatever. I work a lot during the week.
That's fair.
Yeah.
No, that's 100% fair. Yeah.
I mean,
Benoit
I'd say Chris Benoit. He was in mid Carter, right?
Yeah, 100%. He was a great U.S. champion. He was a great Intercontinental champion, a great European champion, a great technical wrestler, of course. So yeah, you could definitely put him as mid card. And now we've got the
I don't
female.
want to like a female wrestler that was my favorite girl wrestler.
Yeah,
Um,
that one's a hard pick for a lot of people, but we've had a lot of good names, such
hmm.
as Luna Vajan, Trish, China, um, Charlotte Flair, I believe, was another one. So those are just a few.
Man,
Uh-oh. Got
have
him
to think
stumped
about
now.
it for a second.
No, you're good. It's interesting. So I'm trying to remember what mine was. I don't remember what my female was. I know I had 2 or 3 different ones.
I
I
barely
think
ever really watched the girl matches too.
I think mine was
Like,
I think mine was
like,
China.
like to be fair, it was like they didn't even really wrestle a lot back in the day. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's fair. Hey, that's true. Which one are you most excited to see in a way? Then I guess you know.
Man, I don't know. It's a bad question for me.
Interesting. Well, you can pick a different person and to replace the female if that's the
I mean,
case.
for a jobber on the Mount Rushmore, I should pick Steve Lombardi, probably, right?
Oh,
For the
his
jobber guy
favorite.
on the
I Frank says his favorite
you.
woman was the naked chick that that hit the ring.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah, that's probably one of the wildest times at JCW. But yeah,
Okay.
that naked Indian girl got in the ring and started like shooting stiff punches on these deathmatch wrestlers.
Oh, jeez.
But yeah, it's pretty wild. That was pretty crazy.
Interesting. So we're gonna skip the women. We're gonna put Steve Lombardi on. That's the final
No,
pick.
I'll answer for it.
All right.
I'll
I mean,
say
say Steve's a good pick in my opinion.
I would just go with like probably like
You could go with another one that you said for, like with Benoit. You can go with one of them.
I'll take Charlotte Flair. I think she's probably pretty good for a girl
Okay.
wrestler.
Okay, Charlotte Flair. She is a 17-time women's champion, world champion or something.
Yeah.
So that's a very good pick. Very, very good. All right.
I
So Lucas.
almost said Bret Hart too for like that mid
Bret
card
Hart.
champion.
Bret Hart's a
Yeah,
good one too. 100%.
yeah.
A lot of people say Owen Hart for
Oh yeah, Owen
Intercontinental
Hart. Yeah, yeah, no doubt. Owen Hart.
European. Like I said, we've had him. We've had Seth. We've had Sean. I think we had Chris at one point as well. Somebody else said. It's crazy. You're up, Mr. Reese. What do you got for us?
So when speaking about JCW, when did you start working with ICP?
I would ride in a car with Sabu to these different JCW shows he was booked on,
Right.
and I always would bring my stuff, but I wasn't really lucky enough to ever really get a match. And then I ended up going to this show at the Majestic, maybe, or one of them at that theater where they have the big chandelier lights or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
And I didn't get to wrestle, but the wrestlers, a couple wrestlers they had in mind to participate in the concert, but they couldn't fit in the costume. And so they kind of scrambled backstage trying to find somebody to fit into these costumes. And myself and Jeff the ref, he's a doctor now. I don't know if you guys are familiar with him, but we were able to fit into the costume, and that was probably like 2015. So really, I got my end bringing the Fago out from the side stage before I got to wrestle. But
Okay.
I would wrestle a lot and work for Rude Boy and Carlito and Mongoose because they would run the international big time wrestling. And like Rudy kind of helped me out and got me a match. It got us on the Stranglemania,
Mm-hmm.
I got to wrestle with, I think the first JCW match I had was probably against Rude Boy and Madman Pondo.
Okay.
And like a tag team match or something, I think.
We've talked about him. No, we've heard about we've talked with him and we've talked about him a few different times.
So Rude Boy kind of helped me out, got me to so I could wrestle at the Gathering.
Interesting.
I wrestled a bunch of them though, a bunch of those guys. They're good dudes. I wrestled the Gathering against Chewy Martinez and Mosh Pit Mike, who I said I wanted to do that tag team idea with if I could do a match or whatever we wanted to team.
Mm-hmm.
You familiar with the Superhuman? Anybody?
Yes.
I've heard the name, but I've never seen him.
I got to work with him briefly a little bit in the Battle Royal at the Gathering because they have the JCW tryout that usually Madman Pondo runs.
Right.
Which that in itself is pretty wild. Like watching the Juggalos wrestle each other,
Right.
That can get pretty entertaining and pretty crazy.
Okay.
But we put on a battle royal with all the people from the tryout. It's sometimes it's like a yearly thing, and that's when that naked girl got in the ring and a person dressed as Doink the Clown. But that guy took a good clothesline out backwards.
Oh
Okay.
man. All right, all right. So everyone, of
Good.
course, we know everyone has a goal in wrestling, of course. What was one of your bigger goal, or what's one of your bigger goals in the industry? Um, if you have an accomplishment, if you have, what was it, and do you have another one now?
Um, at first I was like, man, I just want to wrestle, right? And then I
Okay.
was like, it'd be cool to wrestle on TV. And then I kind of got to do that around here, at least locally. And then for a long time, my goal was to try to like score some extra work. And
Okay.
then I got to do that like September of 2018. I did it. So I'm gonna say maybe like a goal is to maybe do some more extra work.
Okay. I like that.
I
Awesome.
got to
Interesting.
be I got to do it for like a Monday Night Raw and a SmackDown. It was really cool.
Interesting.
I guess my goal would be is to probably try to go do it again, maybe, or
Okay.
maybe try to do it for the other company. I don't know.
Okay.
Right.
That's a really good goal and a really good goal to set and
Yeah.
successfully obtain. What do you got for us, Reese?
When you were talking earlier about riding in the car with Sabu and going to different places with Sabu, what is are some of the like road trip stories that stick out to you while in the car, whether it be your own or from other wrestlers?
Um,
Ooh.
like some of the stuff I don't want. I don't want to throw him under the bus or whatever. Too
Okay.
bad, but
That's fair.
Okay.
like,
That's fair.
but sometimes I feel like um, there was times where I'd pull over just to make sure he's alive still. Hey, brother, are you still alive? Are you still good? But I don't know. I just kind of had to pay my dues, you know. If
Mhm.
he was fucked up or in the back seat, I would like help him get in and out of the car, help him get in his house sometimes, help him out, you know. I figured people, I'd be like, man, fuck, I want somebody to help me. But we here's a cool one. Um, Working the gathering of the Juggalos in Cave Rock, Illinois.
Mhm.
Somehow or another, he got charged with a crime
Oh, okay.
in Cave Rock, Illinois, at the gathering. And somehow or another, he arranged it where if he showed up in Elizabethtown, Illinois, and wrestled, that they would drop all charges. And we went and did it. Like that happened. We went to this town, Elizabethtown, Illinois, and he wrestled, and it was like a benefit for the police station.
Okay.
It was one of the. It was, that's crazy that happened, but that happened.
Interesting. That's
Awesome.
awesome. So during your time in the wrestling industry, who do you think you've had the best in-ring chemistry with?
I'm gonna say Mike the Flight White.
Okay.
He used to wrestle as unrated. He quit wrestling though. He hasn't really wrestled in a long time, but I always had some really good matches with him.
Interesting. That's interesting and awesome.
Mhm.
What do you got for us, Reese?
So when it comes to this is a newer question for me. When it comes to talent in the ring, who do you think is the most entertaining to watch, whether it be on TV or independently?
Well,
Oh
he
man.
I believe he
Um,
said he hasn't watched wrestling most recently. I think so. That should
yeah,
be interesting.
I don't really watch a lot of current wrestling.
Okay.
Yikes.
I do like the mat. Like I'd say probably like Daniel Bryan.
So,
I caught that match not too long ago with. I'm bad with their names. I know it was who'd Swerve wrestle a couple pay-per-views ago.
um,
Uh,
Will Osprey.
yeah, that
Yeah.
Osprey guy. A lot of those guys that can really go. It's like, oh, it's
Right.
got to forget 1, 2, 3, and then they kick out or whatever. Like, I feel like maybe AEW has the better, more technical wrestling.
Okay.
You know, I like watching Daniel Bryan and some of those guys on AEW. I probably catch more of their show than I do Monday Night Raw. You
okay.
know,
Interesting.
I would say Chris Jericho is probably still one of my favorite wrestlers going. Probably because he was back in the day.
Hmm.
Well, I'm lost at the moment in my questions. You had another one, Reese?
In pro wrestling, who do you respect the most and why?
Man,
Ooh.
I feel like you gotta respect everybody. Everybody.
Mhm.
Referee, sound guy, the ring crew people, the promoter, promoter's wife. Uh, I don't know. Just try to be respectful to every single person because it takes a team effort to pull it off.
Yeah.
Obviously, I would pick like the people that trained me and the guys that have given me a lot of opportunity. But I feel like everybody should respect each other. You know, I feel like it's probably why they do that whole handshake stuff. You know what I mean? Right? Even new people that you don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like it's not too bad around here, but like if it was like cliquish, which is never really my thing, I try to speak to everybody.
Yeah.
Right. So where are some of your moves from? Like, who are some of your idols that you took in moves from, or abilities from, in your own way?
I don't really. I would say I don't know about moves, but I would. Why I try to sell got like Terry Funk or Kurt Hennig sometimes,
Okay.
Shawn Michaels, Ric Flair. Like I try to like sell and flop around like them, maybe a little honky tonk man.
Right. Okay.
I would try to like sell more like guys and not necessarily do moves or see a move. I would see a move once in a while on Impact or a move on AEW and be like, oh, I'll try that. You know what I mean? But like a wrestling person doesn't really stick out like a certain wrestler's move that I stole.
I mean, it's not really stealing per se. It's, hey, I like it, so I'm gonna try it and twerk it my
Oh,
way, I guess.
yeah.
But yeah. Frank asked, "What is the greatest crew at the gathering?"
Gypsy Crew.
Okay.
Okay.
The JCW Gypsy Crew.
All right.
All right.
I like it. Interesting. um, if you could see a dream match of your choice, who would you like to see wrestle? Any two superstar. Well, any amount of superstars in a way, I guess.
Any what?
Any amount of superstars from any generation or era and stuff like that. So it
How
doesn't just have to be
about
one on one. It can be whatever.
how about like the Steiners against the British Bulldogs would have been cool. I think.
Oh, okay.
I
That's
don't
a
know if
really
that
good
ever
matchup,
happened. I don't
actually.
know if that would ever happen.
I'm not sure. I think maybe in WCW it possibly happened a little bit, but not all the way. But yeah, close. What do we got, Reese?
And who do you feel has been your
I would have
toughest?
loved if I could
Oh,
take maybe
sorry.
a guy like Ricky the Dragon Steamboat and put him against Chris Benoit or Chris Jericho. Or Jericho did wrestle him or whatever, but when he wasn't in his
WrestleMania.
prime.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. I like that as well.
Who do you feel has been your toughest opponent?
Ooh.
I wrestled Chuck Stein a lot. Chuck Stein's pretty tough guy. They hit him with a lot of weapons and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't really. What do you mean by tough? Like hit me hard, or
Could be,
afterwards I feel sore?
it can yes, it could be like that. Yes, afterwards, the aftermath.
I don't know. Sorry.
No,
I
you're
meant, like when I was more greener and like in battle royals and stuff, they'd beat the crap out of me. Or go home like, oh, I'm all sore and chopped up. Probably the green when I'd say matches when I was green, like no particular person, but just people putting in their like liberties on the new kid, I guess. Does that make sense at all? I don't know
yeah.
if you've had that for an answer before. Not
No,
necessarily a particular person, but maybe like just a locker room full of vets that beat up on the new kid for a little bit.
okay.
It wasn't too bad though.
Okay.
You gotta make him want it. You know what I mean? See if he comes back.
Okay. What's the funnest match that you've been a part of, in your opinion?
Oh man, I don't know. That's a good question. I've been in a lot of matches. I've been in matches with midgets and little kids and
Wow,
mayors and teachers, and
man. Oh boy.
that's tough to just pick one match that was probably my funnest one.
Okay.
My favorite match ever was probably getting to wrestle Jimmy Snuka. I
Right.
feel like that was cool.
Okay.
We have some fun when we do like the cop and stuff.
Right. Okay.
Because there's some comedy in that with Rod.
Gotcha.
I
Gotcha.
would say maybe we were the cops one time and we were going with against. And maybe it was like a spot where we like came out after the match, and we convinced Rikishi to give the girl cop the stink face.
Oh man.
Like at first, I feel like he wasn't good, didn't want to give us the stink face, but we're like, well, what about giving it to this girl cop that's with us? And then he did it. I remember it being pretty funny.
Oh my
Whatever.
God. Okay.
All
That's
right.
a hell of a. That's a hell of a. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And
Interesting.
so
Sorry,
this,
Val.
no, you're
Sorry, Val.
Alrighty. What you got, Reese?
So this is actually because you answer questions before I ask them. So this is actually my last question.
Oh man.
So if you could go back and talk to a younger version of yourself, what would you say?
Oh okay.
Listen to Sabu and go to the gym. Go to the gym.
Go to the gym, huh?
Feed. Yeah. Eat food. Go to the gym.
Eat food and go to the gym, huh?
I wish I was addicted to going to the gym.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. So
I don't know if I'm gonna go straight to the gathering tomorrow, or if I'm
Right.
gonna go to that free wrestling on the road to the gathering. The
okay.
JCW is doing tomorrow, and how do you say it? Is it Hebron, Ohio?
I believe so.
I think
Something like that. I think that's how it's spelled. Like they're doing a free wrestling show.
Okay.
All right.
Interesting. So, actually, speaking of JCW, by the way, can you tell us a little bit about what's going to be going down this week at the gathering?
I know they're gonna have the JCW tryouts. So I'll probably be more involved with that.
Okay.
I believe there's wrestling Thursday and Friday night, maybe like 2-3 in the morning.
Okay.
Looks like a really good lineup. I've seen they're going to have James Storm and Willie Mack, Congo
Okay.
Kong.
Congo Kong. I heard he was there last year as well. That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's cool. Interesting. That should be exciting. I forgot my question now because you're talking about that now. Crap. I had a question. Oh, sorry. Well, as a wrestler, if you could pick a manager of your choice, who would you have as your manager?
Johnny Bradford.
Okay.
Okay.
Johnny Bradford was my manager a bunch of times already.
Okay. There's a lot of managers, and you were spot on. You were ready.
I liked working with Bradford. He was always cool to work with.
Okay.
Maybe a pretty girl, that way I can get booked. No, I'm just kidding.
What about like an old school manager from WWE or
Definitely
WFW?
like probably Bobby the Brain Heenan, right?
Okay.
Bobby the Brain, the Heenan family.
Yeah.
Jimmy Hart was good too, though.
And so,
I always liked those manager guys. They're not around anymore.
yeah.
But
Only a few of them. It's rare. But yeah, there's a lot of them. So that's what I was like, wow, he got that quick. Like boom, he was ready.
I would say Bobby the Brain Heenan
Okay.
would be a sweet manager.
Two really good picks on your behalf, though. Really great ideas. It's awesome.
I got to hang out with Bobby the Brain Heenan in Fort Wayne, Indiana, not too long back. Probably like maybe a year or two before he passed away. It was a good time.
I'd love to sit down and just pick his brain and talk to him about certain things. Man, he had it all for when it came to commentary. He was one of the greats.
Yeah.
So, how long have you been wrestling for?
I I think this is 21 years, maybe. It's
Okay.
getting up there.
So you've been a fan for a bit.
My first match was in like February of 2003.
Okay.
I think is what it was. I think that's when it was.
Interesting.
Somewhere in there. Somewhere in I think February of 2003 was the first time I had a match,
Okay.
which was for the Far Hats big time wrestling promotion that they did.
Right.
But yeah, I wrestled as much as possible and would always go, jump in the car and go, bring you stuff.
Okay. So with our last 5 minutes to go, can you just tell us a little bit of cool, interesting stories about some of your title matches or title runs, possibly?
What was that?
Can I said with the last 5 minutes we got, give or take, can you give us a little bit of a rundown of your title history and some of your favorite title matches you've had?
I don't know. I haven't really had any belts, really.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I've been tag team champion a few times with Briar Wellington for Rivera.
Okay.
That was cool. I like teaming with Briar. I enjoy working with Briar Wellington. That's
Okay.
fun, you know.
Yeah. His name comes up.
Um,
His name comes up quite a bit as well.
Sometimes,
All the
once
time.
a little bit, but I haven't had too many belts or like title reigns.
Okay.
You know, I'm more of a wrestler that probably like curtain jerks and then gets out of there.
Gotcha.
But like you could throw me in wherever. You know, I usually am on the first half or the first match. But I haven't had too many belts. I don't really look at the belt like I get it, like it's an honor and you got to carry the company sort of thing. But a lot of times I lose. You know what I mean? Just put the other people over.
Right.
But I don't know. I don't have much of a title history, I guess, would be my answer.
Well, yikes. I'm sorry.
It's okay, though. It's all right. That's okay.
Let's go back to some of the other wrestlers. Then tell me what it. Well, I'm going to tell you some of the IWR names that we've seen before that you probably worked with, such as Forever Young, Jeremiah
Yeah,
Goldmain, the
yeah,
Soul
like,
Taker, and
oh,
Zach.
yeah.
Tell us about some of your matches with them, and what's that experience been like.
I've wrestled a lot of matches with Soul Taker. I
Okay.
don't think I might have had a couple matches with Forever Young where maybe he was my partner or something, or we touched in
Okay.
like a multiple person match.
Gotcha.
What was the other one? Was
Jeremiah
somebody
Goldmain.
I like Jeremiah Goldman.
He was our other co-host at one point, and
He's
gosh, he was something else.
Yeah, he's crazy. I love him to death. He's a good dude.
Yeah.
He's managed me a few times or managed us.
Okay. Okay. I believe he'll be at JCW this year. Hopefully,
He's getting ready to win the hot dog
Hopefully.
eating contest on the 25th.
Oh,
Do
you
you guys
think so,
know
huh?
anything about
Oh,
that?
you think so, huh?
You know
Interesting.
you know anything about that?
A little bit, a little bit.
It's like where does he put all that food because he's so skinny?
Dude, tell me about it. He's holding 4 titles right now.
Jeez, he's a hungry.
Four eating titles right now. He's holding 1 for
Yeah.
donuts and 3 for other stuff.
They're trying to bring in that ringer guy with the giant pizza slice to take him out.
Oh, you seen that, did you? You seen
I've been
that?
doing my work a little bit, I guess, but
You seen it, You got the sneak peek. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
He will. I believe he will be there.
And then the other guy, we never touched each other. Thomas, what was
Zach
his first?
Thomas. Zach Thomas.
Zach
Yeah.
Thomas. Zach Thomas is, I think, a really good wrestler, though.
Yeah.
I
100%.
think he's a good worker. Some of the matches he had with King.
Yeah, Drag King Logan.
Yep.
Yeah, King Logan. I know they team a lot. He's a hard worker.
Scum.
Zach Thomas, a good wrestler. His brother too, obviously, but I've never wrestled him, but I've seen him wrestle a lot of good matches. He's a hard worker.
Gotcha. Interesting.
Let's see, I probably named some people I wrestled a lot. I wrestled Chuck Stein a ton.
Yep. We've
Like
talked
at the Pro Wrestling All Stars. I wrestled Unrated a lot.
Okay.
I've teamed with Officer Rod Street a lot. We do the tag team a bunch.
Have you been in the ring with a Brutus Atwell?
Yeah,
Yeah.
a lot actually, a lot of
Okay.
times. We
Okay.
recently had a match,
Okay.
maybe a tag team match or something.
Okay.
Okay.
Can't remember. I think we had like a 6-man tag or something recently, not too long ago in Taylor.
Oh,
But
okay.
yeah, I've wrestled a lot of times with Atwell.
Okay. So I forgot that I told this before. I forgot forever ago. We went to high school together, me and that guy, Mr. Brutus
Did he,
Atwell.
did
He
he
went like
still have the
completely.
beard then?
He did not. Well, he did actually, but it was shorter, and he was completely different. He wasn't a swamp daddy anymore or swamp father, whatever. And
Did he
he
have shoes
was
on?
he had shoes on. He was clean. He was cut. He was he was doing the damn thing. Uh, but he's one of my favorites right now as well, though. Not just because of that, but because he's one of the best around in certain areas and certain times. That's awesome.
I have wrestled Bruce Atwell, yeah,
That's
for
awesome.
Pro Wrestling All Stars.
Yeah, he's a good guy. He's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
You just got to watch out for the alligators that follow him around.
Yeah,
It's a little scary.
I don't like alligators.
Yeah, especially if they're hungry and he sometimes they just follow him. So you never know when they were fed last.
No doubt.
Maybe they're actually trying to chase him because he knows where the food's at. You never know. I'm not sure. It's crazy, but
I wrestled a lot of matches, Pro Wrestling All Stars and
okay,
international big time wrestling. I wrestled a lot for Phil Monahan's Championship International Wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Rod runs his local promotion in the town that I live in. I work with him sometimes for the American Wrestling Experience. I'm getting ready to wrestle for them on the 7th of September in Jackson here at the Music Box off of North Street.
Okay. That's pretty cool.
I will, should be wrestling. Maybe against I'm not 100%, but like if I was looking at the flyer, I would assume that I'm going to wrestle Chad Alpha. Maybe that's
okay.
who I'm next. That's who I'm next to on the flyer. So I don't know.
All
That's
right.
just my guess. Just a guess. I don't know.
Just a guesstimate. We're not sure yet.
Yeah.
All right. Interesting. Well, I believe that's all I had, and that's all he had. We're good. Is there anything else you specifically would like to say to the people, Mr. Ricky?
Just to get out there and support indie wrestling, check out
100%.
the future stars of tomorrow today.
Dude, I 100%
You
agree.
know.
Yes, sir. Of course,
I would
go.
say thanks to you guys for letting me come on and talk.
Dude, absolutely.
Uh,
100%.
I'm looking forward to seeing the JCW wrestling. I'm looking forward to the
100%.
tryout.
Yes, sir.
Should be a
Absolutely.
good weekend.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
gonna try to get with your people out there.
Okay.
You said they have a bus,
I believe so. They should have some RV, something like
RV.
that.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks. I look forward to seeing you guys at the show.
Absolutely.
Chat
Yeah.
it up.
Well, best of luck this week. Hopefully, it all works out well for you.
All
Of
right.
course.
Thank you
Thanks.
very much.
Of course, thanks for being here with us. With that being said, join us next week at 6 p.m. And with that being said, we are out. Adios.